Hey folks, welcome back. Hope you're doing well out there. So in today's video, we're going to be looking at another clip from my upcoming course, The Guided Mystical Experience. And in particular, we're going to be talking about set, right? So this is a whole video that I made about understanding how to set up your set in terms of set and setting to prepare yourself to have an optimal experience if you're going for a mystical experience. So if you're someone who's a little fuzzy on what set means exactly, how set works, all this kind of thing, watch this video. Join me for this. I think you'll get something out of it. Okay, so just like I said in the intro here, this clip that I'm about to share with you is from the course that I'm about to drop here on the 21st of March. I think you're going to really love it. This is the section from the course on set in terms of set and setting, right? So this is how to set up and optimize mindset for a positive mystical experience or positive psychedelic experience. This is based on A, helping you understand what set is more clearly, and B, what to look for in terms of when your set is not right, and how to kind of set yourself up to have an optimal set going into a psychedelic experience. Because, you know, the underlying mood and emotion and way we're feeling and way we've been thinking dramatically gets amplified when we take a significant dose of a psychedelic, right? It's one of these things that is so strange about psychedelics, right? Like in our day-to-day life, we can go through life with a little bit of a background hum of anxiety or worries or fears or stress, or we can doom scroll. And it's just kind of like, doesn't heavily weigh on us. It's not loud in our nervous system. It's just kind of like there is like an underlying tension or angst or unhappiness or fear or what have you. And we can kind of adapt and keep going through our lives and not have it be a real big deal, right? And so we're used to that. But this is one of the ways in which psychedelics radically rearrange the rules of the nervous system for a little while, in that what has been kind of background noise in our life in terms of anxieties or stresses or fears or emotions, often these are things we haven't really thought through or processed properly. When you take a certain dose of a psychedelic beyond a certain point, these things become very loud in our nervous system and come to the forefront of our attention, right? And so your set is really something that you're probably not used to tending to, but you really need to tend to if you're going to be using psychedelics and have a safe experience, right? And so this is why I want to share this video with you. It's just to help you understand a bit more about set and its importance here, and to give you, quite honestly, a little bit of the flavor of the course and whether or not this would be of value to you. And for some of you, it's totally going to be really useful and an optimal tool, and perhaps even life-changing. Like if this course goes as planned, as the way I've designed it for you, it could very much be a life-changing thing. But for others of you, this may not be the content for you. So I want to share this with you just so you get a sense of the course, get a sense of my thoughts on set as I captured it here in the video anyways, and hopefully get some value out of it. So without further ado, let's watch it. Okay, so let's talk a bit about set, and I want to help you understand more clearly what set is in general, and more clearly what the right set to approach this kind of guided, deep mystical experience really is going to be. So, as I'm sure you already know, set and setting have long been identified to be major contributing factors to how a psychedelic journey goes, right? These are cliches here, and they're cliches for a reason, really. But what do they mean when they say set? Exactly. What are we talking about here? Set is your mindset, to put it really simply. Set is one of the major controls that you have over how your experience goes. So I want to highlight there. Set is one of your places where you have control over the kind of experience you're about to have, okay? The simple rule here is really simple. Put the brakes on if the session, put the brakes on your session if your set is feeling off, okay? So if your mindset isn't in a good place, postpone your session and take care of your set first. It's going to set you up for success in such a major way. So you shouldn't do a journey if you're experiencing some extreme state of mind or emotion, basically, right? Instead, wait until you're calm and centered enough and then try your journey again, okay? I want you to remember that we are going deep with this experience. Okay, this really is a deep, profound experience, and mystical experiences can be very intense. Okay, if you're already feeling intense because of your mindset, because of what's going on in your life, that will color the tone of your mystical experience or add to its intensity. Okay, so this will charge things further if you're in a charged place when you take the medicine and go to do this kind of experience. So you want to have some inner spaciousness or some sort of inner capacity to work with intensity in your nervous system before proceeding to the journey, right? So if your bandwidth is already maxed out because you had a rough week and you're stressed about X, Y, and Z in your life, that means you're probably going to have less capacity to then deal with more stress, more intensity, more, challenging, stimulating, overwhelming, overloading experiences, right? So this is why you want to, take time away and get your mindset into a place where you have more internal bandwidth to be able to accommodate a powerful, extreme experience like a mystical experience can be. The implication is that the worse your mindset is, going into the journey, the more likely you are to have a difficult experience. The studies bear this out. The psychedelic literature bears this out. This is a piece of kind of cultural folk knowledge in the psychedelic community at this point. We know this to be true. So I don't want to beat you over the head with it, but I don't think I can put it any more clearly than that. If your mindset's not great, it's really going to impact things for you, okay? But, the question obviously always arises, what if you're taking psychedelics because you have issues that you want to heal, right? Is that a bad set? Which I think is a really fair question. The honest answer here, if I'm going to be authentic with you guys, is that it's kind of complicated and it depends on a few factors, right? So, for example, there may be deeper layers of stress or sadness or fear that are kind of a low-level hum in the background of your nervous system that you haven't been paying attention to or tracking in yourself that can impact your set on the medicine, okay? So this is not uncommon for people to be kind of dealing with low level, upsets in our lives that we're kind of just ignoring and carrying on through, that we haven't been processing, that we're not really paying attention to, but they're kind of stacking up in the background. And then we take a psychedelic and then we're kind of shocked to discover that all that stuff is present in us, hasn't been processed and becomes more intense. Okay. So that can happen. These layers of our experience can be totally out of our awareness during our day-to-day sober functioning. As a general rule of thumb, I want you to try to avoid doing this session and just wait if any of these apply. So if you're currently upset or emotional or stressed, don't do this session, okay? If you've been doom scrolling, binging negative social media, watching upsetting news, as is easy to do these days, if any of that's still in your body, in your mind, in your field, don't do this session, okay? If you recently got any bad news, like you broke up with a partner or you lost your job, someone in your life passed away, something like that, something that's likely to stir you up at a pretty deep level, don't do this journey, okay? If you recently had a health scare, you went to the hospital for some reason, or something like that is going on, or even just you're dealing with a lot of uncertainty, you don't know what to do in lots of areas of your life, you're overwhelmed and kind of uncertain about a lot of different things, this may not be the moment to do such a deep, intense journey. Or if you want to use the session to avoid something that's upsetting you, that's another common one where it's like, I want to spiritually bypass, I want to have a bliss experience to avoid, dealing with this thing that really triggered me, or, this thing I saw online, or this thing a person said to me, or whatever it is. All of these are reasons that I think, add up to bad set. And there's obviously more examples we can all think of, but I hope that starts to paint the picture of you got stuff kind of churned up in you, make sure that you take some time to process it and get some inner spaciousness, okay? In general, situations like this will get amplified with medicine and are likely to lead to more difficult experiences with medicine. There are exceptions to this. This is not always true. I want to be honest with you guys here that sometimes you can have some of this stuff going on and really, and it doesn't color your session as much as you might have thought it would. Sometimes you can do other things like a candy flip where you bring MDMA into it and it really changes the dynamic of the session. We'll be talking about candy flips during the dosing part. But in general, if you've got this kind of stuff going on, it's not the right moment to do this session. Okay. Another rule of thumb here is that even if you have a therapeutic outcome that you want as part of your mystical experience, you don't want to make this the focus of your experience, right? So you're like, oh, I really, I know mystical experiences, help with depression or help with anxiety and help reduce and improve mental health scores. That's not the right mindset you want to approach this experience from. You want to put the therapeutic intention down for a moment. As counterintuitive as that might sound, you really want to put that all aside and approach this experience as if it's its own thing. So you're not doing this journey to get a therapeutic outcome. You're doing this journey to have the experience that it is, okay? And you want to just trust that somehow, okay, I've been dealing with depression. I want to do psychedelics for depression. I want to have a mystical experience because that's said to be the best thing. Put all that aside and just do this for the sake of doing it with the trust that somehow this will positively impact or connect back and help your therapeutic intention. Is that clear? Does that make sense? I hope it does. So let's talk about optimal mindsets and not so optimal mindsets for the session here, right? So an optimal mindset for this session is going to be something like being in a really accepting place, being really open and curious about this experience, just kind of really receptive and open to whatever it's going to be, feeling really patient about the experience you're about to have and however it's going to unfold and whatever that's going to be for you and for your life, feeling loving and trusting, just kind of open-hearted and trusting of this experience, feeling internal and contemplative, so kind of almost like you're approaching a spiritual experience with that sense of humility and internalness and just readiness to reflect on whatever it is that you experience. Feeling connective, right? Feeling like you want to connect with yourself, with your internal reality, with your spirituality, with, life, with the cosmos, however you want to think of that. And being humble and willing to learn, especially if you're working with mushrooms. They are teachers. There's a teacher-student quality to mushrooms in particular. And I think the right mindset to meet the teacher is a sense of humbleness and openness and willingness to learn. If you're really in a kind of arrogant, proud place, that tends to work against you in terms of mindset. And of course, having temporarily let go of fixating on your issues. Again, I understand you may have things you want to heal, you may have things you want to solve, and I hope you can trust me when I say that if you temporarily let go of trying to problem solve your issues and just engage this experience for what it is on its own terms, that's going to serve you a lot better than if you're trying to fix your issues through this kind of experience. In general, it's helpful to approach the medicine almost with an attitude of humble and open, being an open, humble student, ready to see and learn, kind of in recognition of the power of the medicine, because these medicines are powerful, especially at the doses we're talking here. Okay, what's not optimal? Okay, so some examples that I see very commonly that are possibly going to work against you. I was going to say probably, but they may not probably, but certainly possibly could work against you. Being desperate and needy for an outcome, okay? That's a big one. Being fixated on going into the core of your issue, right? So this is not the time or the session to, actively go into why do I have this issue, okay? Feeling impatient or impulsive, right? So if you're like, oh, I'm going to do this guided thing, I'm just going to take a bunch of acid and do it, that may not work out so well. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Feeling competitive, like I'm going to have the best spiritual experience. I'm going to have the best ego death. I'm going to be the most spiritual person, right? Again, not the right mindset. Feeling judgy or shamey of yourself or of other people or of society. feeling skeptical. This is another big one, right? Because there's a lot of people getting into psychedelics who come from the more rationalist side of things, who from the more scientific side of things, and they might feel skeptical about guided session working or being appropriate, because there's a certain cultural expectation that's now created about how psychedelic therapy and healing is done. There might be skepticism about mystical experiences and what they are, or that they're real. There might be skepticism about your possibility to heal. I'm broken and I'm not able to be fixed, and this is not going to work for me. All of that kind of stuff. Again, not optimal mindsets to really get you the best experience that's on offer here. If you're stressed, it's another big one. Again, bad set, generally being stressed falls under the category of bad set. Being charged up with emotion. And this really could be either way, if we're talking positive emotion or negative emotion, right? So if you're really charged up with a really manic, over the top positivity where you're excited and you're like pumped up and you're kind of ungrounded, that can really work against you. And so can obviously being charged up with negative emotion. You're really angry, you're really sad, you're really caught up in a drama of some sort, caught up in a story of some sort. Again, all of that could really end up working against you here. So I would not recommend that you do this session, this guided session, if that's where you're at. I would encourage you to do more prep work, do more, self-connection work, do what you need to do to get back to center, again, where you have a little more bandwidth to allow for a really powerful experience, right? Being still caught up in whatever dramas may have been unfolding in your week. This is another common one. Someone's like, okay, I've set a, plan to do a mystical experience journey, a month out, and then the week of, you've got work dramas and family dramas and XYZ, and you're stressed about all this stuff. That's all still in your body, in your nervous system. You're kind of carrying all of that. You're, driving to the place where you're going to do the medicine journey, and you're fixating about what so-and-so said about this thing or that thing. And it's all kind of, you're stewing on it still, not the optimal mindset. Okay, the idea here is to engage the medicine from a space of humility, openness, learning, and readiness to put everything else behind for a few hours and just go deep with this experience. That's the right mindset, okay? I like to think of it in the same way that a person might reverently prepare themselves for visiting a temple or a sacred place, right? There's kind of a relaxed, respectful openness present, right? You're checking your ego at the door, you're checking your dramas at the door, and you're ready to simply be present with the experience and engage it and allow it to be what it is. If you can do that, you have the right set in place from my point of view. And this is true for me with this experience that I've set up for you here, this guided experience in particular. And I think this is true in general with psychedelics. If we can get to this place of open, humble, curious, engaged, relaxed, putting our dramas aside, leaning into the medicine experience as it is, that tends to give us the best results. So I hope you can really internalize what I'm saying here. I hope this makes sense. I hope this is useful, because it really is the mindset you want to have anytime you're engaging with psychedelics.